Yeah. I just love it when I'm listening to the music and hearing the daily word and feeling and actually knowing, because I'm the only one who knows what's on these pieces of paper, knowing that it's all coming together. We heard about a world awakening. We heard about light and dark, about moving forward. And that's what my lesson is about today. It's not about imagination, because imagination is the power of the month. But the title of my lesson is The Threshold of Creation. Threshold of creation. That's where we are every time we begin to step into a new experience. And that's what's going on right now in the world. We are at a threshold of creation, of creating a new way of being as a global society. So, imagination. It's the power of June. We are officially 6 months into the 12-month year, halfway over. Imagine that. We will be by the end of the month. So a little recap of the powers before. We have love, faith, strength, wisdom, and power. Love is the cause of it all. We are created by love to bring love into the universe. Faith is the foundation of everything. Whatever you put your faith in will be real for you. Strength is the persistent perseverance that sustains you in your faith. And wisdom. Your wisdom reaches beyond your intellect, reaches beyond your experiences, and draws from the omniscience of divine mind, so that you can move into with full knowledge and understanding of what you are about in that moment, in that circumstance. And power. Power is the active presence of Spirit working through you. It is, so to speak, the energy of God. God is power. You are powerful. God is power. You are powerful. So we come to imagination. Often, imagination is thought of as an escape route, that we can go into our imagination just as children do. Children are the best purveyors of imagination of anybody. We can do the same thing. We can just imagine anything's going on and kind of escape from it all. Now, that's just one of the things we can do with imagination. Imagination has brought us art. It's brought us literature. It's brought us theater. It's also brought us war and famine and pestilence. Imagination is one of those things that can go either way, depending on what we put behind it. It is imagination which reaches into the pool of unmanifest nothing and comes up with new concepts, with new ideas, possibilities, and potentials that were never thought of before, that were never dreamed of before. It's our imagination which makes contact with that and empowers us to begin bringing it forward. The Celtic scholar John O'Donohue says, imagination operates at a threshold where light and dark, visible and invisible, possibility and fact come together. The threshold where light and dark, visible and invisible, possibility and fact come together. This is where the process of change takes you. It takes you beyond your boundaries and into new experiences. We've been doing a lot of that past few years, have we not? Been doing a lot of change in our lives, and not necessarily by our own choice. We have had to do it. DeWitt Jones, he was a photographer for National Geographic for 20 years, said that it is not trespassing to go beyond your own boundaries. Think about that. It's not trespassing to go beyond your own boundaries. What are your boundaries? What it is? Your boundaries are whatever it is outside of your comfort zone. Your boundaries are whatever it is outside of your comfort zone. You want me to tell you what that is? I don't know. And you don't know either. And that's the rub. That's the rub. Healthy personal boundaries are a necessary thing. Boundaries of integrity, boundaries of health, of wholeness. Boundaries are important for us to be happy, healthy, and productive in the world. When we come up against a boundary or a limitation, a boundary of limitation, let me put it that way. A boundary of limitation, a limitation that has been placed on us by others or by ourselves, we know that we have reached a threshold. And that is the threshold of creation. It's a threshold that, for whatever reason, we have not crossed before. And it's your imagination that is the first to cross it. Threshold of creation is a very potent place to be. It's where you choose your experience to, in, and through change. I'm going to say that again. It's where you choose your experience to, in, and through change. With the power of your imagination, you choose whether something is going to be good or not so good. Whether something is going to be filled with light or darkness. You can make the choice based on the visible appearance and your past expectations and what has happened to you in the life, or from the invisible presence, the all-important presence of your divine wisdom, understanding, and faith, which knows the truth of God's good. Every time we step across that threshold of creation, we have that opportunity to make that choice, because we're stepping into the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what our experiences or our reactions are going to be, because it's different. We've changed. The world has changed. So we bolster ourselves with whatever it is that we have inside to move forward. That's why it's good to have the grasp of the truths with a capital T. Good to have a good grasp of your truths, of your understanding, of your faith, when you come to using the imaginative power and potential that is yours. This is important because you can usually imagine many, many possibilities out of something you know nothing about. We're very creative people with creative imaginations. And we can imagine a lot of interesting things. Much of them aren't centered in any fact at all. But we can certainly imagine it. And wherever we are centered, we can make that thing real in our lives. Charles Fillmore says, imagination is a wonderful creative power. It builds all things out of one substance. When you associate it with faith, you make things just as real as God makes. For man is co-creator with God. When you associate it with faith, you make things just as real as God makes. These are the things that are everlasting, ongoing. When you associate your changes with faith and move into these changes with faith. What's happening now is an example of imagination and change. What's been happening for the past few years. Because right now we are right in the, I've said it several times and I'll say it until it's over with. We're in the midst, in the heyday, in all the bigness in the transition from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age. That's what all this stuff is going on in the world and in our nation. And a lot of what we see happening, a lot of what frustrates us and gives us pause is because so many have been raised with fear as their guiding force. In fear, there is little, if any, trust. And when stepping across the threshold into the unknown, it is trust that opens new doors. It's trust that opens new doors. Even with good information to draw from, your experience is going to be based in whatever you are centered in. What is dominant in your discernment process? God's law? Simply put, God is good all the time. Or Murphy's law. Yeah, we all know Murphy's law, or most of us do. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. We're basically here or there. You send your power of imagination through the threshold of creation into new concepts of light, dark, visible, invisible, fact, fiction, possibility, and potential. Where you are centered determines what you will come back with. Find in Matthew 6:22 through 23. You also find it just about word for word in Luke chapter 11, 34 through 36. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? When we look at this metaphysically, the eye is your imagination. It is what you see, what you perceive. That's your imagination. It is what makes you see something as light or darkness. The body is your experience. Your experience both physically and perceptively. Your experience can be filled with light, with the faith and the experience of the wonders and miracles and exceptional joy of spirit. Or it can be filled with something less than that. When he says, if the light in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Light empowers us, enables us to see things. And if we are seeing things through a dark mind, through a dark experience, how great is that darkness? How freaking miserable is your world? And there's lots of people walking around in a miserable world. Thank God we aren't. Amen, yeah. That's why we're sitting here. That's what brought us here together, like heart, like mind, knowing the truth, to have that truth set us free from the fears and blah that can be everyday life. It's your power of wisdom combined with your imagination that allows you to see through the facade of the world and know that beyond appearances, God is at work. And it is in your power of imagination that reaches across this threshold, the threshold of appearances, and empowers you to bring back the experience of spirit. It brings light into your world, a light which shines on choices and opportunities that without this change would never be there for you. Think about that. As our world changes, as our lives change, whether we want them to or not, they're going to. With change is going to be opportunities that would never have been there before. And as we like to say, with open hearts and open minds, know the truth can reveal to us the potential and possibility within these changes, within these opportunities. To let us see how it is that we can use what we have. Use who we are. Be who we are in this change. And create something new for us. Something good for us. For ourselves and for people. This is what happened 54 years ago this month. 54 years ago this month. Yep. Think about it. If y'all clicked on the newsletter link, you'll know what I'm talking about. 54 years ago this month, it was Stonewall up in New York City. I had a couple of guys in our Gulf Breeze, Mississippi church who were there. They were there and they talked about it every once in a while. Stonewall is where the gay community decided this is a threshold and we are going to cross it. They were tired of being treated as not even second-class citizens. They were tired of it. A year later, they had their first gay pride parade in New York. 54 years later, things have changed immensely. You know, we're still getting there. We're not there by a long shot. But look at the change that has happened. 54 years is not even a blink in creation. In humanity, it's not even that long. So we have made great strides. And it is the fear of others that are trying to pull it all back to what it was. That ain't going to work. Because Spirit does not go back. Spirit moves forward in creation. And that's what's happening now. Spirit is moving forward while the fear is trying to hold it back. How can you hold back a flood? How can you hold back a flood of energy, a flood of life, a flood of truth? You can't. You can't. That's what we're a part of. We're a part of the flood of truth that is moving throughout all of creation on this planet. We are a conscious part of it. A conscious part of that change. And y'all should be proud of that. Imagination, folks. This week, I'd like you to notice how you're using your imagination. How you're using your imagination to create your experience in your life changes. Are you using your power of imagination to bring light into your new creations of potential and possibility? You doing that? Take a moment now and again to stop and consider that. Remember, it's God's law or Murphy's law. It's your choice. And God blesses you.